Welcome to our Golu. This year's theme is Bhakta Vijayam. We have displayed stories of Krishna Bhaktas who propagated that true knowledge of the divine can be achieved through selfless devotion. These saints preached in a simple language to the common people.
Pundalika. Pundalika was a devotee of Lord Vishnu, known for his service and love towards parents. However, when he was a young boy, he was irresponsible and disrespected his parents. After getting married, the situation worsened, and soon his parents, tired of his actions, moved away to Kashi. After many years, his wife convinced Pundalika to travel to Kashi. On their way, they stopped to rest at the hermitage of a great sage. Just before dawn, he noticed 3 ugly women in dirty clothes enter the hermitage. They began to clean and do chores. After finishing their chores, they emerged out of the hut looking extremely beautiful, adorned in clean clothes. Pundalika observed this for several days and finally walked to them and asked, "Who are you all?" "We are Ganga, Yamuna, and the holy rivers of India. During the day, people bathe in our waters to wash away their sins. The impurity of their mind, body, and soul make us dirty. We come here to get rid of all their sins." This was a rude awakening for Pundalika. He was greatly ashamed and located his parents, asking for forgiveness. From then on, he looked after their needs and comforts, serving them with love. Lord Krishna observed Pundalik's devotion to his parents. He came to Pundalik's ashram, reaching just as he was putting his parents to sleep. Upon seeing the Lord, Pundalik placed a brick and asked him to wait on it until he came. The Lord did as told, waiting with lotus hands on his hips for Pundalik to return. Pundalik returned to Lord Krishna and begged for forgiveness. Vithala and Rukmini happily blessed them all, and that place is today known as Pandharipur.
Namdev and Janabhai. Namdev was a prominent bhakti poet of Maharashtra, born in a lower caste tailor family. One day his mother asked Namdev to take offerings to the temple and place it before Vithoba. Later, when Namdev saw that the food was not eaten, he cried bitterly, and finally Vithoba assumed a human form and not only ate the offerings but fed him too. Janabhai was another ardent devotee of Vithala. Namdev spotted her at the temple and brought her home. She was very grateful to serve Namdev, and her devotion to the Lord surpassed even his. Namdev was engaged in singing his bhajans and praying, often forgetting to perform household tasks. His wife and mother scolded him often for being irresponsible. On a rainy day, the downpour began to break the mud walls of Namdev's hut. Lord Vithala held his chakra to protect the house and fix the walls with clay. Namdev began thanking the Lord, and he simply said, "In serving me, you are neglecting your household chores. You should take care of them as well." Janabhai washed his clothes of the clay and left them to dry. Krishna ate lunch served by Janabhai, and before going to nap, he wore her shawl. The next morning, when the temple opened, people were surprised to see the Lord's idol wearing a torn dress of Janabhai, who had the Pitambaram of Vithala. Namdev and Janabhai both eventually took to sainthood and reached the feet of the Lord.
Kabir Das. Kabir Das was born into a Brahmin family and brought up by a poor Muslim weaver family. He was a devotee of Sri Ram, as was his son Kamal. They never failed to feed those who sang praises to Lord Ram. On one occasion, he didn't have enough money to provide food for a large gathering of devotees. So he and his son set out at night to secure provisions. They went to a merchant's shop, made a hole in the wall, and the boy snuck in to remove the provisions. They heard noises coming from the house, and the boy, afraid of being caught, tried to escape through the hole. Alas, his body got stuck in the hole. To avoid being identified, he told his father to sever his head and take it away, for if they were seen, they would not be able to feed the devotees. Kabir agreed and made a quick escape, stolen food in one hand, his son's head in the other. The next day, the merchant took the headless body to the king, asked for his help to identify the thief. The king tied up the body on the highway in hope that the man who claimed it could be questioned and arrested. Meanwhile, Kabir threw a feast to the Bhaktas, unmindful of the previous night's events. In the evening, after the feast, Kabir and the Bhaktas set out in procession to the town, singing bhajans. Kabir and party reached the highway, and to everybody's surprise, Kamal's headless body began to clap his hands to the bhajans. Kabir and Kamal's faith and devotion brought him back alive.
Gorakumbha. Gorakumbha, also called Goraba, was a potter in a village in Maharashtra. One day, Goraba's wife, Shanti, went to fetch water and left their son under his care. Goraba was hard at work in the ditch, pounding and mixing the earth and clay, preparing the mud. The child crept into the ditch. Goraba was so engrossed, chanting the Lord's name, he didn't notice his son in the ditch. He trampled his son to death under his feet. On her return, Shanti started looking for her son. She looked into the ditch, mud stained with red. She realized what had happened and started crying bitterly. She began to blame Vithala, whose bhajans so captivated Goraba. Shanti was furious at her husband, whose clapping hands and chants invited the Lord and threatened to break Vithala's idol. Terrified, Goraba chopped his own hands, pleading with her not to break the idol. At that moment, the Lord appeared, brought their son back to life, and restored his limbs. Gorakumbha spent the rest of his life composing many abhangs. Jayadevar. Jayadevar, known for his Gita Govindam, hailed from a village in West Bengal. He was known as Bhakta Kavi and wrote many Ashtapatis on Krishna's Rasalila. Impressed by Jayadeva's devotion, the king invited him to the palace and gifted him a huge amount of money and jewels. Jayadeva refused the gifts, saying, "Money and gold are like poison to one who seeks the blessings of the Lord." He was, however, forced to accept the gifts. On his way home, Jayadeva was ambushed by thieves who attacked him, cut off his hands and feet, looted all his wealth, and threw him into a well. Jayadeva sat on a stone inside the well and began to chant in spite of his suffering. Jayadeva's chants were heard by a passing king who saved him. The king watched as his limbs grew back with the Lord's mercy. He recovered and went back to his village. One day, when he was composing the Gita Govindam, he was stuck on the line, Smarakaralakandanam mama shirasi mandanam. His wife Padmavati advised him to go for a bath. In a few minutes, he strode back into the room, smiling, and said that he had framed wonderful lines. She brought him palm leaves and a stylus. He wrote down the lines and went away. Later, Jayadeva came back and asked for palm leaves to complete the poem. Confused, Padmavati handed him the palm leaves with the completed sloka. Jayadeva saw a new line, the palm leaves stained in oil. Dehi me pada pallava mudaram. So the Lord had come to his home, helped him compose the Gita Govindam, and left just like that. Meera. Meera was born in Meerut, daughter to the king of Jodhpur. When she was 3 years old, a sadhu gifted her a doll of Sri Krishna. She adored the doll, dressed him and adored him all day long. She resolved to make Krishna her lifelong friend, lover and husband. Meera's father arranged for her to be married to Prince Bhojraj, eldest son of King Rana Sangha of Chittor. However, Meera was not swayed by the luxuries of royal life. She served her husband dutifully, but in the evenings she spent her time singing to her beloved Sri Krishna. She frequently entered states of trance and ecstasy while singing. The prince's family did not approve of her devotion. Meera's sister-in-law started to spread gossip about Meerabai. She even tried to kill Meera by poison after King Akbar gifted her a pearl necklace for her divine songs. Eventually, Meera went away to Vrindavan, where she was free to worship her Lord. She spent her days singing in his praise and finally went to Dwaraka, where she became one with the Lord Krishna. Her songs bring forward faith, courage, devotion, and love for God. Her soulful bhajans touch our hearts to this day.
Alvars. 12 Alvars are considered devotees of Vishnu. They belong to different castes and came from very humble backgrounds. They popularized Vaishnavism in Tamil Nadu.
Andal is the only woman amongst the 12 Alvars. Her name is synonymous with that of the month Margazhi. Vishnu Chittar or Periyalvar was a garland weaver in Srivilliputtur and an ardent devotee of Perumal. One day, he found a beautiful baby girl under a tulasi plant in a temple. Believing that she was a gift from Perumal, he named her Kodai and took the baby under his care. Kodai was raised listening to the wonderful stories of Krishna and ended up falling in love with the Lord. After helping her father garland the flowers every day, she would secretly wear them and pretend to be Perumal's bride. People remarked at the fragrant flowers and how Perumal's idol seemed happier when wearing the garland. One day, the priest spotted a human hair on the garland. He got home only to see Kodai dancing around while wearing the garland. He feared that they had committed a great sin. That night, Perumal appeared in his dream and said he wished for only the garland worn by Kodai, as it bore her scent of pure devotion. Hearing this, Kodai was determined to marry only the Lord. She meditated and praised the Lord every day, and her songs of devotion are preached even now, known as the Tirupavai. The Lord also expressed his desire to marry Kodai. Periyalvar, the king, and the entire village led Andal bedecked as a bride to Srirangam. On reaching the temple, Andal rushed to the sanctorum and in a flash merged with the Lord.
Mudal Alvars. Poigai, Pei and Boodathalvar are referred to as Mudal Alvars. It is said the Lord wanted to bring his 3 most ardent devotees together. One day Poigai was visiting a temple in Tirukkollur and the skies began to darken. He stumbled upon a small hut with just enough space for one person to lie down and took shelter inside. Boodathalvar arrived at the same hut looking for shelter and Poigai accommodated him sitting together. Soon, Pei also came to same hut and they agreed to stand so all 3 could fit. The darkness grew so dense they could not see each other. Soon they felt a fourth person also force their way among them. The three Alvars realized from the light of the lightning that the fourth one, who looked charming and divine, was none other than the Lord Vishnu. Poigai Pei Bhudattalvar each composed 100 verses in praise of the Lord.
Tirumangai Alvar, known as Kalyan, was a skilled archer and served in the military. For his valor, he was awarded a government territory called Tirumangai and hence got the title of Tirumangai Mannan. He fell in love with Kumudavalli, a Vaishnavite, and wished to marry her. Her conditions were he had to be a Vaishnavite, feed 1,000 devotees every year. He happily embraced Vaishnavism. Unable to bear the expense of feeding 1,000 people, he resorted to robbery. One day, he saw a group returning from a marriage. He and his men looted the wedding party. He tried very hard to remove the groom's touring. He looked up and realized that the groom was none other than Lord Vishnu. Tirumangai became an ardent devotee of Vishnu. He has composed over 1,300 poems, more than any Alvars.
Ramanuja was born in Sri Perumbudur near Chennai. Having divine traits similar to what Lakshmana possessed, he symbolizes one who does his duty with devotion and dedication to Lord Ram. He established the Sampradayams to be followed in Sri Rangam and Tirumala temple. He was a great scholar and a reformer of the Bhakti movement. 2017 commemorated his 1000th birth anniversary.
ഒരു നേരമെങ്കിലും കാണാതെ വയ്യന്റെ ഗുരുവായൂരപ്പാ നിൻ ദിവ്യരൂപം.
Bhattatiri was born to a Brahmin family in Kerala. Under his guru Pisharadi, he learned the Shastras and Vedas and became a great scholar. Pisharadi was affected by rheumatism. Unable to see his guru in pain, Bhattatiri used his yogic strength to take the disease upon himself. Now Bhattatiri was in deep suffering. He, along with his fellow disciples, went to Ezhuthachan, a Malayalam poet, to ask him for a remedy for his suffering. Ezhuthachan told Bhattatiri, Matsyam Tottu Kazhikka, or start by touching the fish. Hearing this, the disciples were greatly offended. Bhattatiri, however, took it in the proper sense, decided to present the various incarnations of Lord Vishnu, starting with the Matsya as narrated in the Bhagavatam in a series of Dashakas, group of 10 shlokas. He travelled to Guruvayur and composed one Dashaka a day with the Lord. In the last shloka of every Dashaka was a prayer to remove his ailments and sufferings. After completing 100 Dashakas, he recovered fully and regained happiness. His 100 Dashakas are collectively known as the Narayaniyam, sung in praise of Lord Narayana. Narayaniyam is a summary of the Bhagavata and its Parayana confers great benefits. It is an effective faith therapy conferring Arogyam and Saukyam.
Krishna Krishna Mukunda Janardana Krishna Govinda Narayana Hare Achyutananda Govinda Madhava.
Poondanam was born in Kerala into a Nambudri family. He was blessed with a son but tragically lost him within a year. Grief-stricken, Poondanam sought refuge at Guruvayur. It is said that the Lord Guruvayurappan consoled him, laying down on his lap like a child, and granted him enlightenment. Poondanam spent his days reading the Bhagavatam and singing the Lord's glories in simple Malayalam. In the Jnanapanai Song of Wisdom, he writes, While little Krishna is dancing in our hearts, do we need little ones of our own? Poondanam and Bhattadiri were popular contemporaries. Once, Bhattadiri, in contempt of Poondanam's simple Malayalam, refused to edit his work. Soon, the paralytic disease of Bhattadiri, cured earlier by God's grace, relapsed with greater pain. Lord Krishna appeared before Bhattadiri in his dream, declaring, "To me, the bhakti of Poondanam is far more pleasing than your vibhakti." He apologized to Poondanam and praised his bhakti yoga. Immediately his illness disappeared. One day, traveling back to the Guruvayur temple, Poondanam was attacked by robbers. He handed over his money, even his prized gold ring, but the robbers demanded more. They asked for the small packet in his hands, which was his prized Bhagavatam text. Scared of losing his sacred book, he started calling out to Narayana. Suddenly, an armed man arrived on horseback. He defeated the thieves and returned the money and the ring. Poondanam thanked the young man and offered his ring as a gift. The young man politely declined, but Poondanam insisted and forced the ring on his finger. The man relented and guided him to the temple. The next morning, during the Nirmalya Puja, a gold ring fell to the floor. Poondanam recognized it as his own. It was then Poondanam realized that his savior was none other than the Lord himself. On his final day, Poondanam went around telling all the villagers that the Vishnu Parshadas had arrived in a Vimanam to take him to Vaikuntham. He asked whoever wanted to join him to hold his hand. However, nobody took him seriously. It was only his maid who believed in what he said, and she clutched his hand. After a bright flash of light, people came out of their houses only to see Poondanam missing and the maid dead. Edutachan. Tunjatte Edutachan, born to a lower caste family, was a great scholar of the 16th century. His contribution to the Malayalam language through Adhyatma Ramayanam and Bhagavatam is considered unparalleled. Adhyatma Ramayanam, written in the Kilippattu style, is considered a landmark of Malayalam literature. Kilippattu, or parrot song, is a genre of Malayalam poems in which the narrator is a parrot, a bee, or a swan singing songs of Lord Rama.
Vilvamangalam Swami and Kururamma. Vilvamangalam Swamiyar was a scholar and great devotee. He was able to see Guruvayurappan and carry on with conversations with him. He was assigned various important duties by the Lord to conduct special pujas, pratishtas, etc. Naturally, he was proud of his accomplishments and of his special powers. Kururamma also belonged to the same period. She was also an ardent devotee of Guruvayurappan. To the childless Amma, the Lord served as a son. He used to play pranks with her, ate food, and helped her with nitya pujas, etc. At times, she used to even punish him, tying him to the pillar. One day, Kururamma invited Vilvamangalam Swami to conduct a puja in her house. Meanwhile, Unnikuttan helped Kururamma to prepare the Naivedyam and decorations, etc. She and Unnikuttan waited for the Swamiyar. Swamiyar, in his vanity, could not recognize that the boy was the Lord himself. After invoking Krishna to the Vigraha, he offered flowers in the direction of the Vigraha. The flowers fell on the feet of the boy, not on the Vigraha. Puzzled, Swamiyar ordered the boy to move away. Again the flowers dropped on the feet of Unnikuttan. He understood his mistake and fell at the feet of the Lord and Kururamma and apologized. Lord told him that if he was his devotee, Kururamma has been his devotee for 5 janmas. So blessed was Kururamma.
ಅನಿಸಿದಳೆ ಶೋದೆ ಜಗದು
Purandaradasar. Purandaradasar was born in Maharashtra to a wealthy merchant. He was called Srinivasa. He married Saraswati, a very pious girl. He inherited his father's business in precious stones and pawnbroking and amassed immense wealth. This earned him the title Navakoti Narayana. Srinivas Nayak was very stingy and his only goal was to amass more wealth. Lord Narayana decided that it was time for Srinivasa to give up his love for money and take his role among saints. So he took the form of a poor Brahmin and approached Srinivas Nayak for money to perform the thread ceremony of his son. Srinivas chased him away and gave him nothing. The Brahmin approached Saraswati and pleaded with her, asking her to give him anything. Appalled by her husband's behavior, she gave him her prized diamond nose ring. The Brahmin took the ornament straight to Srinivas Nayak's shop and clarified that he was there not to beg but to pledge the ornament for a loan. Srinivas immediately recognized the ornament. Perplexed, he questioned the Brahmin, who told him that it was a gift from a benefactor. Asking the Brahmin to wait, Nayak safely locked away the ornament in a box and went home. When he saw his wife without her nose ring, he questioned her, asking her to show the nose ring immediately. She knew that her husband would punish her if she told him the truth. She sincerely prayed to Tulasi Ma, whom she worshipped every day. Miraculously, the ornament was right before her in the Tulsi plant. Her heart filled with gratitude, she took the ornament to her husband. Nayak was astounded on seeing the ring. When he came back, he found the Brahmin had left. One of the neighbors reported that the Brahmin had entered the Purandara temple and vanished. Srinivas opened the jewel box, but the box was empty. This miracle left Srinivas Nayak at a loss for words. Srinivas rushed home and asked his wife to tell him the truth. Saraswati narrated everything. He realized that the Brahmin was none other than the Lord Purandara himself. He became a changed man. Then and there, he decided to give away his vast wealth in charity to the poor and needy. He became a devotee of Lord Hari, now known to us as Purandaradasar. Purandaradasa systematized the method of teaching Carnatic and is therefore called the father of Carnatic music.
Sri Raghavendra Swami. Guru Raghavendra Swami was a 16th century saint. He advocated the Dvaita philosophy of Sri Madhavacharya. He was born as Venkatanatha in Chidambaram. His father and grandfather were great Veena Vidwans in the court of Krishnadevaraya. He was married to Saraswati from a noble family. Life was tough as they were in great poverty. He decided to serve his spiritual guru Sudhindra and spent his life in worship of God. Eventually, Venkatnatha took to sannyasam. Sri Raghavendra Swami got an opportunity to meet the Nawab of Adoni. The Nawab, deciding to test his spiritual skills, served him a plate of meat and fish covered in cloth. Swamiji, who knew what the Nawab was up to, meditated and sprinkled holy water on the cloth and then lifted it. The plate contained fresh fruits. The Nawab felt remorseful for his shameful act and became an ardent devotee of Swamiji. He gave him the land of Mantralaya. He constructed a shrine, Brindavana, where he entered a state of Samadhi in 1671. The Raghavendra Mada in Mantralaya is visited by thousands every year. Annamayya. Annamayya was born in Talappakam in Andhra Pradesh. From an early age, he received sound instruction in classical music. One day he observed a group of pilgrims on their way to Tirupati singing songs of the Lord as they travelled. Annamayya left his village and followed the pilgrims all the way to Tirupati. Legend goes that when Annamayya was too exhausted to climb the stairs, Goddess Alamelumanga appeared before him in the guise of an old woman and gave him Divya Prasadam. Annamayya composed over 32,000 kirtanas. His son had them engraved in copper plates, of which only a third are known today. For reasons not known, most of these copper plates lay hidden in a rock-built chamber opposite to the Hundi in the Tirumala temple and went unnoticed for over 400 years. All his songs were magically recovered in the 19th century. Through his life, Annamayya organized the annual Brahmotsava Festival in Tirupati to honor Sri Venkateshwara, which is followed even today.
They say that poetry and music are a window to a man's soul. The numerous mystical saints, through their music and devotion, not only receive the unbounded mercy of Lord Krishna, but also have secured a place in our hearts. Thank you for taking your time to visit our Golu. We hope to see you next year. Radhe Krishna.